it is pretty evident that I am developing what can only be described as an unhealthy obsession with this engine and gearbox. G'day folks, my name is Wayne, welcome back to MC News. Today we are reviewing the big red beast, the Multistrada V4S from Ducati. I've almost run out of superlatives for this bike. I think it's a ripper. Really powerful, 170 odd horsepower in sports mode. Obviously you've got a bunch of modes, sports, touring and enduro, that being the off-road mode, which steps down in power as you go. Yeah, incredible engine. Right from the bottom, it lugs pretty well from sort of 2,000 revs right the way through. Red line's at 10,000. Yeah, it is superb. Handling across the board is really quite good. I expected this to be really good on road, and it is. I actually preferred the touring mode to sports mode, just because it's a little bit less urgent. Yeah, a little bit cruisier. Very nice place to be. Really sharp handling on the road, beautiful natural cornering into levels of grip and feedback into corners are amazing. But I probably spent more of my time off-road actually on this, just because I wanted to see how good it was and in those sort of off-road conditions. Rear brake isn't great, not powerful, could have a little bit more power there. Front brake is fine, ABS is fine, both off-road and on-road. These little flutes here, they're actually called deflectors, as I found out. That's what Ducati call them, but they funnel air through there, which is great when it's hot, because it sort of helps draw hot air out from around that engine bay. But if it's raining, not so great, because that basically just funnels water and mist and all sorts of stuff onto your legs pretty quick smart. So that's a bit of a fail. I think if I was going off-road a lot, I'd probably just take them off, to be honest. Quick shifter in this, probably the best quick shifter that I think on any bike that I've ever ridden. It is just divine. Really beautiful, gentle shifts and a tremendous feel in that lever. The lever feel is just great. Yeah, love it. 240 odd kilos, so it's not light. On the road, you don't feel that weight at all. Yeah, suspension does an amazing job. Really comfy seat, beautiful place to be, either standing up or sitting. Ergos in particular, when you're standing, are amazing. Awesome thing. Let's get into that footage. Off-road stuff first. There's lots of it, so get a cuppa or a beer, whatever you like, and sit back and yeah, we'll walk through the big Ducati Multistrada V4S and see how good it is. I've got it in enduro mode. I've got traction control set to 1, just to see how that goes with 1 on. Because even though enduro mode sets the power limit at low, this can still get pretty lively in the rear. You know, when you dial on a bit of skid action. So yeah, let's have a bit of a play, see how we go. Lovely exhaust note. Lovely exhaust note. Could be louder, but that's okay. Yeah, so definitely suspension so far feels like it is biased towards on-road performance, which is no great surprise, because this is definitely a very nice thing on the road. Heaps of grunt, handles nicely, but yeah, not too bad over here. It's not performing badly at all. And when I think about how things went on the big GS, it doesn't feel that dissimilar, if I'm honest. Dragging a bit of front here through the loose stuff, no rear brake at all. Very choppy over there, and certainly much like the GS, you don't want to hit these chops too hard, because there is a fair amount of weight underneath you. So, you know, as opposed to the little Aprilia Touareg that I had, where I was fairly charging down here, pretty choppy down here too, so we'll just brake early, nice and gently, see if we can go around the bulk of them. Here is a big one. Didn't bottom out. That's not bad. And another. Didn't bottom out there either. Actually, that was
We got air that second time. That was a lot more forgiving than I thought it might be. The center stand, as most center stands do, walking around in the sand here, the center stand is noisy. I don't like center stands because, well, they're noisy and they're extra weight, and as a rule I don't use them. I know a lot of people like them, but I'm not one of them. Now, on the lighter bikes I charge up that track there, but I'm not going to today. I'm going to do a similar loop. Oh, that sound. Nice induction sound too. It's not just exhaust. There's a nice growl that comes down from under there. That big mighty V4 throws out a fair amount of hump. And really the mid-range is where it's at on this bike. So even on low power, so that's, yeah, low power, we're in Giro mode, and it'll still, it's beautiful soft throttle, but it'll still light up the rear if you want it to. Tell you what, that traction control on one does a good job of just keeping things a little bit tidy. Because this is happy to step out. Just get my weight over the front nicely. God, it is pretty evident that I am developing what can only be described as an unhealthy obsession with this engine and gearbox. So we're going to go down a little track down here, which I tend to think is a good showcase for what most riders of these big adventure bikes are likely to be tackling. So it's not as out there as that last sort of opening one that I did just before, which is got plenty of whoops. It's going to be, you know, maybe a little too challenging for a lot of people, especially if you've got pillions or you're loaded up with luggage. I wouldn't want to be going down there then. There was no issue at all, by the way, doing that on this, but I just think most people will be riding these big bikes in conditions that are much more like this, you know, gravel roads, tarmac roads, maybe some really safe, you know, forest access trails. I think that's where really this is sort of going to be shining. So yes, riding position. Yes, I really like the standing position and the ergos on this bike. They remind me a lot of the Tiger 1200, which I think at the time I said was one of the most comfortable, if not the most comfortable, standing sort of bikes that I'd ever ridden. And this is right up there with that. It's lovely. You're able to really lock your legs, lock your knees in at the front of the seat and sort of the back of the tank in a really natural position for me. My hands are dropping really nicely onto the bars. This is pretty much perfect. I haven't rolled the bars forward. They are as they came. But yeah, this standing riding position is superb. The only thing that I am surprised at when it comes to the standing riding position is actually the foot pegs on this bike. They're quite narrow and unexpectedly so. I'd definitely be opting for a wider foot peg option. Pretty sure you can get one from Ducati. two-way tracks. That's a centre stand making that noise. That wasn't actually bottoming out. A little sandy here. Very sandy there. Throttle feels pretty good. What are we at? Again, just under 4,000 revs. Able to be manoeuvred around very easily. That's surprisingly good, as I said. You know, I will err, very sandy here. I will err to the side of smaller capacity bikes, or even, you know, mid-sized, every time where I can, because they're just easier to manoeuvre around, right? But there's nothing wrong with the manoeuvrability of this. Yeah, so far ground clearance has been good, side clearance has been pretty good down some of those ruts. I'm very impressed. And the V4 engine just sounds superb. It's just lovely. V4s are my thing. I've loved V4s forever. Listen to that. I'm just going to roll off and get slower. 2,000 revs. Pulling very happily. Let's go up here. So that tractors along really quite nicely. Much more gooder than I thought it would down low. For what is a nice free revving engine. I am very, very impressed. The more I ride this, the better it feels, the more comfortable I'm getting. So I probably started off a little bit timid because I was, you know, wondering about these STRs and just how good they'd be on this stuff, but they're definitely the only thing that's holding it back so far. You know, throw a more aggressive set of rubber on here and I think this would be surprisingly capable. Yeah, get more aggressive rubber on there and that sound would have been a little bit more fun. This screen does a great job. All that, terrific job. Keeps the weather around you. Plasticky, pretty standard, doesn't need to go if you want to do more stuff like this. There's a lot of stuff going on here, which is all about extracting heat away from that engine. Dirty big V4, that will of course get warm. And these little bad boys down here, great for funneling, you know, cool air through and blowing that hot air out. However, as I said earlier, if it's raining, imagine you've got your leg there, that's water all collecting up in here and just blowing on, blasting really onto the front of your shin. So be aware that you will get wet legs very quickly, as it sort of collects, you know, it collects the sort of road moisture that gets kicked up by cars or gets collected in that, and it's like someone's holding a hose and just blasting it on your legs. Muffler, quite slim up here. Nicely tucked out of the way. That's going to be pretty well protected in a rollover. None of this is, but yeah, I'd be worried about those. That'd be the first things to snap. So if you're going to get out and do this sort of stuff, please get some engine protection. Good attachment points for their hard luggage, as you can see here, and plenty good options for you know, tie down points if you want to throw a pill in on there. No problem. One thing I did notice with this seat, by the way, same as the Desert X. That's weird. Moves around a bit. You don't feel it when you're on it, but it's just, you know, why does it do that? Doesn't need to do that, surely. Suspension both ends is all electronically controlled. Push button start, keys in my pocket. You need the key to open the fuel cap, but otherwise it can just stay in your pocket. really nice Ducati dash design. It does use one of these multi-toggles, which I'm not a massive fan of, but it works and it's okay. You use this sort of top menu here to jump into, in this case, settings, and changing your modes is as easy as hitting that mode button. Suspension is adjustable. If I press that, there you go. So you can adjust your suspension pretty easily for, and it's auto leveling as it says, for if it's just you, if you've got a passenger, or if you've got baggage. So that's easy peasy, but you can also go into your settings. I'm going to just go back. If you can also go into your settings, which I should be on now, dive into each of your modes. Let's go in here. Scroll through. That was traction control, ABS, wheelie control, I've got that off. Suspension. So you can go in here and fine tune individually, front and rear, how you want it. So as you can see, at the moment I've just got it on medium on the front and the rear, and it's okay in this stuff. It's handling this surprisingly well. I might have a little tweak around and see if I might just actually firm up the front. See what happens if I do that. Just to see what that feels like. A bit of a play around with some of these settings. I don't know, did Ducati make ugly motorcycles? I don't think they do. I don't think they've got one. I really like that styling. I like what's going on at the front. I'd like the rear to be, there's a fair bit hanging off the back there, if I'm honest. So that could be tidied up, but otherwise it's quite a nice looking thing. You know, it doesn't matter how you look at it. And these bikes, don't they look better with dust on them? I think they do. They look like they're being used as they're designed to be. I think it's great. So I'm going to take off down here now. I've never been down this track. I don't know what's there. Let's go for a peek, and then I'm going to make my way home. But so far so good on this. I'm not going to have too much footage of this on-road stuff because I think most people will rightly assume that it's pretty good on the road, and it really is. It's fantastic on the road. I've got it in touring mode now, which is their sort of road mode, if you like, and it's nice and plush. But you know, there's a couple of hits coming up here. Oh, actually, that wasn't that bad at all. But just it soaks up lots of road bumps really nicely. Just absolutely purring along like 4,000 revs. I'm trying to show some restraint to try and get as much of a gap in front of me as I can before these twisty bits. And then when you do get to a spot where you want to wick it up, I should say touring mode, I'm pretty sure it has the mid-level power map, which I quite like on the road. Obviously steps up from the enduro map, which is low, which is great for off-road. A really nice road map, not aggressive, just lovely and controlled. But when you do want to change it, it's a pretty simple process. I'm just going to wait till I get around this corner, and we'll go through the process with you. It's not a one button press, but it's pretty good. So I hit mode over here. You can see on the dash we're on touring. I use the multi-toggle button down the button. Sorry, multi-toggle button down the bottom. There we go, onto sport. And then I just tap that button in the middle, and it will ask me to close the throttle. Now we're in sport. Now that firms up the suspension, changes the map. I think it might actually also change the preload on the rear as well. So not just damping, but yeah, it's already come alive. You can definitely feel it a little firmer. That throttle is more responsive. Plenty of traffic on the road today, unfortunately. Being, what are we, a day or two after Boxing Day? We're in that no man's land. Where I don't know what day it is, I don't even know what day of the week it is, and I don't care. I'm out riding motorbikes. Oh mate up here, he's on a holiday. Where's he from? What colour plate is that? Let's have a quick look. Northern Territory. Good man. Get out and enjoy the country. What a champion. Very eager, that throttle just on hard opening. Really nice. I just saw a traction control light come on then actually. So I haven't adjusted the traction control settings. Oh, this is lovely. Yeah, as I said, that throttle is very eager. Got some hump. Corners really nicely. Just natural. It's absolutely doing its thing here. It's in its element. Really nicely. Just dragging some front ABS. Wash off some speed. Oh, this is a very nice place to be. Yes. Interestingly, so that throttle, she's very eager in sport mode. You're good? Yeah, gave me the thumbs up. Yeah, she's got some hump, this thing. Especially when you've been riding it in enduro mode for so long, which I have, doing the gravel stuff. That's a bit of a wake-up call. Man, this thing's packing a punch under there. It would take a few more runs, I think, for me to really get comfortable with just how much grunt that is at barely open taps. Just so nice. But balance of the bike is lovely. It just rolls onto its side really well. Beautiful handling bike.
So if you can't tell by now, this is one of my favourite big bikes available. The only part that makes me go is the price. By the time you tick a few options, heated grips, heated seats, front and rear radar on this thing, center stand, you're getting up to 40 grand or thereabouts, which is not cheap in anyone's language. But yeah, I guess the old adage comes back that nothing good is cheap. So it is really hard to fault, and you can see where that money goes, but that doesn't stop it from being expensive. But yeah, let's leave it there today. I think this thing's a ripper. How good are motorbikes?
Still hasn't bloody bottomed out. And this is back on medium. That's a bad line. That's not ideal either. Neither's that. Well, that was fun. Oh yeah, boy. Well, that's far more capable than I would have given it credit for. That's quite good through there. Oh. Is this the perfect all-round, all-road motorcycle? Gee, it's bloody close.